co-host Arif Aziz. Assalamu alaikum, Arif.
Wa alaikum salam. How are you, Imtiaz Ali, today?
Good. Yeah, and we're still missing the third piece of the jigsaw with Sadat Akram. He's probably picked a really good week to be away from the studio because he was going to get absolutely ripped today, wasn't he?
He was, and there's a lot going on, isn't there?
There's loads going on in the world of sports. Just before we dive straight in, let's welcome our listeners as well on Inspire FM. I know there's a massive footballing base there in the people that listen to Inspire FM. I'm sure there's lots of Liverpool fans there, lots of United fans in Luton listening as well. So guys, if you are on Facebook, find us Salaam Radio, get your comments in. Also, for the local lads, do keep an eye out because we'll be sharing on our own Facebook pages the live stream on Facebook, which is now up and going. So do interact with the show. Lots and lots has been happening in the world of sport over the last week. Arif, why don't you just give us a rundown of the different things that we want to discuss and hopefully get some interaction from our listeners.
We're going to be discussing the Rugby World Cup.
Okay.
Fantastic performances. I've actually this last few days actually got into the World Cup again. England absolutely awesome against the Australians. Okay, but what I really want to discuss, there's quite a few different topics I want to discuss. There's a lot of stuff going on in terms of racism. It's reared its ugly head internationally and nationally as well. Want to discuss also the Premiership. Yeah. Okay, and the big game that's going to be played later on as well.
Later on today, yeah. There's a big game. Who's playing? I don't even know who's playing.
It's a minnow, isn't it?
Yeah, it's minnows.
Yeah, it's a hopefully it's a giant killing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's going to be a giant killing. So we'll talk about that in a little while. We've got 2 hours of the show. Second half, I think we'll focus on the football, as in the forthcoming football matches. Yep. But football has made the news, not necessarily the results of football games, but actually what's been happening in the game. So, did you see that game, Liverpool, England versus Bulgaria?
Yeah, I tell you what,
Bulgaria versus England, rather.
I saw that game, and it was shocking. Absolutely. Unbelievable. Yeah. Never witnessed anything like that in my whole life, and I've been following football for a very, very long time.
Was it really that bad? As in, okay, so I know it's bad, of course. What I'm saying is there's been a lot of incidents over a number of years that we've seen. And obviously the Bulgaria one hit the headlines, talking about an international match being abandoned. There was calls for, the team to walk off. But, what was it specifically that you saw during the game that you...
I heard quite a bit of stuff that the commentators and the media came out with more than anything else. I didn't... sitting on an armchair fan, you're not going to hear a lot of stuff because...
if you're in the ground...
Yeah, if you're in the ground, you're going to hear certain things. I was more shocked with the media. I'm going to lay it on the table and I'm going to tell you how it is. I'm actually disappointed because I think the media has blown it out
of all proportion.
Out of proportions. I think, we need to get our house in order. Okay. Before we start going down the route,
that's a very interesting point. That's a very interesting point. I think there's definitely a lot to be said for how much the FA, the English FA, have done to eradicate racism in football. And then when we're calling out, other countries, it's a bit whataboutery, isn't it? It's like, we're not in a great position, therefore we can't call them out. And I don't think that's fair. I think if Bulgaria have a problem, they have a problem. But we should be, able to look internally as well.
Yeah, and I think this is the problem. We don't look internally, and I'm going to be honest with you. I called up a radio show.
You were that passionate about it?
I was that passionate.
You actually called in?
On Saturday, I was traveling to the airport, and I was listening to the radio, and all you heard was the media and how Bulgarian fans, have, caused all this issue. And I've looked at that situation. I thought, wow. What about our home? Nothing is being mentioned. The fact that, racism is on the rise in the UK. Islamophobia is on the rise. You've got Boris Johnson, our very own MP.
PM even.
PM, basically making comments, racist comments, him getting away with it.
Absolutely.
This is the
Absolutely.
way.
No, we're
That's how
definitely-
passionate I was about this. I called up a radio show on Saturday, and would you believe? Is they were not interested in my views of
They
what
were
I
not
said.
interested in the counter.
They were only interested in what happened with England.
Drilling Bulgaria.
Absolutely. That's it.
Okay. So we've got Arslan Ali watching, we've got Ibi Ali watching, we've got Asif Ali watching, and we've got a number of people watching us live on Facebook. Guys, do get your comments in. We're talking about England, Bulgaria, and the racism we've seen, and what it, the reaction in the media, and possibly the hypocritical reaction in the media, given the problems that we've got at home. Also want to give a shout out to our station manager's daughter. It was her birthday yesterday. Imani, she's here in the studio, and I hope she's enjoying our show. Happy birthday, Imani, and we'll be sure to get some cake off you.
Happy
at your
birthday, Imani.
We've also got Abdul listening and Sami listening. They're little kids, big fans of the show. They go, we love Uncle Arif. He's so emotional and he's so passionate about it, and we love listening to your show. So do get your comments in, guys. We're talking about racism, specifically about the Bulgaria England game, but also there was something else that happened over the weekend.
Yeah, I think is it Harrogate?
It was Yeovil Town versus Haringey.
Yeah.
And I think this is the fourth qualifying round of the FA Cup. Is it the last one before they go into
It's
the
the
first
last one, before they get into the proper.
And the Haringey goalkeeper is, I believe, he's African origin, but he's a black goalkeeper, and he was getting so much abuse. Things were being thrown, things were being said. He was actually very, very upset. And we forget this, don't we? Sometimes we forget. We think, these professional footballers. I mean, Haringey is probably like a semi-professional team, but these professional, semi-professional footballers, we sometimes forget that they too are, just like me,
human beings. They could,
getting hundreds of people or thousands of people abusing you in that situation where you're trying to do your best and perform. It's really not fair, is it?
It's actually very, very shocking. But I think. This, as far as I'm concerned, this game was a precedence. Now, where do we go from here? Fair play.
Wait, I'm a little bit unsure. You say this is a precedent, but is this the first time in English football, I mean, I'm sure it happens in like Sunday League and grassroots and whatnot, but first time in English football where a professional, fully FA sanctioned, proper televised or game.
I think this is the first game. Where a team. I haven't come across any other teams.
I've certainly not heard of it, but it's quite surprising, isn't it, that it's now that they've walked off.
Yeah, and I think it just shows you a testimony of Yeovil Town as well. They heard the racist issue as the racist remarks. They were with Haringey all the way. They, said, look, we'll support you if you guys want to come off the pitch. We're going to be part of that as well.
Sure.
So, I think more has to be done. And, I want to lay it on the table. The FA don't do enough. Okay. Kick it out. Is that just a organisation?
So it looks like we've got a caller on the line. So I think let's go to, we'll pick that up in a second. Let's see what the caller wants to say. Assalamu alaikum, you are live on Salaam Radio. Who am I speaking to?
Wa alaikum salam, it's Jamil from Stoke.
Oh, Jamil from Stoke. How are you, brother?
Assalamu alaikum, Jamil. How are you?
I'm okay, brother. How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, not too bad.
Good hearing from you, Jamil. What do you want to say? I mean, have you been listening to the show? We've been talking about the racism. What are your views? What are your comments?
I've played 11-a-side, a Sunday League, and I don't think it'll ever go away because there's a small percentage of people that just will not change. And it's just something that we have to tackle together. And hopefully, maybe in 20 years.
So are you saying you've played 11-a-side? I mean, what kind of level have you played at? Is it grassroots? Is it amateur?
No, I've just played Sunday League.
Okay.
Not on high level or anything like that.
Sure. And you've experienced it yourself firsthand?
Yes, we used to experience it every Sunday morning.
But I think Jamil, there has to be a change. I mean, you mentioned the fact that in 20 years, if something changes, no. I think now is the time that, the FA, the government need to get involved and tackle this issue because, we're looking at the rise of white supremacy in this country, and as harsh as it, and I'm putting it out there so everybody can hear this. We've got our own prime minister, and I'll mention him again, who is a racist, and he's calling out for Bulgaria, to sort their house out.
Yeah, as I said, I mean, let's just
Yeah.
take it back to what Jamil said. So you've experienced it first, and you said it's something that we're probably not going to eliminate. I mean, how do you feel then when the English FA and the whole English media start attacking the Bulgarian FA and the Bulgarian fans for their racism? I mean, it is
You know
correct
what
that we
it
call it
is?
out, but what do you think?
We live in a country, excuse me, got a bad throat actually, but we live in a country where we've got a good education system, good grassroots, good, basically community-run projects, and good understanding of how life should be.
Okay.
I'm not saying this in a bad light to the Bulgarian or anybody else, but it's like we're just like Liverpool at the minute, just a little bit better than United. So eventually they will catch up with us. The education system in their countries
Okay.
will improve.
Jamil, I'm just going to stop you there for a second. Is it education? Let's look at this again. Are we blaming a lack of education for the fact that there's racism?
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that
Yeah.
point. I would say, look, you've got different levels of education in all countries, and yeah, we might be a developed country. Bulgaria is not too far beyond. It's a European country. They've got, they're not a third world country. We're not talking about that. You don't have people that are ignorant across the whole country. What it is you've got a section of the fans. You've got a section of the community, section of the population that watch football, enjoy football, and from that section of the population that are in the crowds, there's maybe a handful. There was 4 people that were identified, but people suggest there was 50 to 100 people. This is
I
not
want
a
to
problem.
stop you there, Image,
Go on.
my brother. I think what it is, the football hooliganism
Yeah,
in this country has died down because of the sanctions and the punishment that the
Right.
police are working with the FA
Absolutely.
and everything, give to the people that are the culprits, basically.
okay,
In countries, I'm not saying third world and Bulgaria, but in other countries, it's acceptable. Now, I've been to Liverpool away matches where we've seen like groups of guys tools up.
Well, listen,
And
I
you
mean,
think to
in
yourself,
Syria,
you really want to be in that environment?
in Serie A, when the own fans of who's it Lukaku plays for? Is it Inter?
Inter, yeah.
Yeah. Their own fans, didn't they write like a letter saying, "Look, we're not racist. We just do what we need to do to give our team an advantage. We're not racist,
It's
but
I think it's acceptable in them countries.
And it kind of is, isn't it? It's their mentality
Yeah.
is a little bit different. But what do you think specifically about the English media's attack on the Bulgarian fans and the Bulgarian FA and the demand for like resignations and whatnot when we in this country have
the
our own
media
problems?
is controlled by the rich, as they say. So they are going to do that. But, realistically, it's just a tricky one. I don't think we should make the media as scapegoaters and they're doing
Sure.
this or that.
Okay,
But everybody knows what the media is about.
okay. Okay,
You know,
Jamsi,
if you look at hindsight, if you're in Peterborough now, which is 100 miles from where I am,
yeah,
if somebody doesn't tell me what's actually going on in your studio, I'm never going to know.
yeah, no, that's
Now-
fair enough.
That information could be right or wrong, but it depends on how I perceive it and how I look into it. So
Absolutely.
it's a tricky one. That they are
Okay.
doing the right things by making it. Oh, actually, I'm doing a few things at the same time.
Yeah,
but they're-
no, I think you're right. We should always call it out. I was just trying to identify maybe there is an element of hypocrisy there. Jamsi, thank you so much for your call. Just before you go, I will let you know that Bilal Javid has commented on our stream and he's saying United getting hammered today. Do you agree?
After the international break, it's a bit tricky. You never know. We might end up drawing.
You never know.
I'm a big Liverpool fan.
So-
I'm just
so
on the way down.
do you
to see
think
the
we-
lads to watch the game?
Do you think we're going to lose
I-
the game? That's a question.
Pig and Arif.
Do you think we're going to lose the game at all? Do you think
I don't
United
think we're
have
gonna
got
lose it. I think we got the.
have United got an
midfield-
opportunity to win it?
Yeah, I think it's just like
Yeah.
last season. It was there for the taking, and we didn't take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully today we'll take it.
Excellent. Jamsi, well, you go. Enjoy that game.
All right.
And
Take care,
I'm sure
guys.
we'll hear from you soon. Really
Thank
appreciate your
you.
call. Thank you so much.
Take
Assalamu
care.
alaikum. So that's Jamsey from Stoke giving us a call and his insight into what he thinks. I mean, his view is that the media are right to call out the racism that was seen, and I think I agree with that. I think the point, and I don't know if he caught that point or not. I think it's a bit frustrating that there is an element of hypocrisy within the
and
English
I think
media.
that's the frustrating thing, isn't it? It just, we keep banging on about our own house, and over the last sort of year, especially the last year, where you've had Chelsea fans, you've had different fans who've caused a lot of issues and said a lot of racist. What have we done to tackle that? Have we done anything? Has the media actually got involved?
I think it's a difficult one. Literally, what can you do if you can identify? You can't. I think it's bad to punish. Sometimes clubs have half their stadium shut down because there's been a racist incident or something like that, and it's difficult because then you're punishing the club, the genuine supporters, the community. You're punishing a lot of people because of a handful of idiots. Now, if you can identify those idiots and you can hand down sanctions, that's probably the right way to go. But when it's so widespread, you sometimes have knee-jerk reactions to these kinds of things. There's another thing I wanted to ask you about, and this is Bilal Javid has just commented as well. Arslan's commented as well, saying Liverpool 2, United 1. We'll talk about that in a bit. But Bilal said, great professionalism by the English team. They handled the situation very well. Now, I completely agree. But I do know that there were moments in the game where they considered walking off.
Yeah.
And in the end, I mean, they won the game comfortably. And Tyrone Mings, it was his debut. He handled himself amazingly, I thought.
Impeccably.
Sterling, did what he does best and scored goal to shut up the haters. But there was a few people saying, you know what, if Harry Kane or if Jordan Henderson had made a stand right then and there as non-black players, but supporting their teammates and taking the team off, Harry Kane's the captain, obviously, then that would have made a massive statement. What do you think?
I think, and I agree with the point you're making. I think, why leave it up to the actual individual players? You've got 2 or 3 black players in the team. I mean, are you asking them, if you walk off, are we going to walk off
Absolutely.
with you?
Yeah, exactly.
It shouldn't be, it should be the decision should have been made, said, look, any racism, we need to make a decision on racism. We haven't really, I think by walking off, that would have hit everybody a lot more than just...
So there's 11 players out on the pitch, and all 11 players are, well, there's 22, but 11 English players out on the pitch. They're all representing England. So they're a team.
Yeah.
So you hurt one part of my team, you're hurting my team, right? And if you're attacking Tyrone Mings, me as a player, if I'm a white English player playing on the pitch, I've got to be hearing that. Because, it's not just the black players who are hearing things from the crowd. The white players are hearing it too. And you're absolutely right. The onus shouldn't be on Sterling or Mings to come forward, go to his captain, go to the referee and say, he should be able to speak to his captain and say, are you hearing it? And the captain should say, look, this is bang out of order and I'm offended. As a white English player, I'm offended and I refuse to play in this kind of environment.
I think, who was it? Was it Paul Ince or was it Ian Wright who said, if I was a captain of that team, I would have taken them off.
Right.
I would have brought them off. So that's a perspective of a black captain on what he would have done, and it would have been,
and there's no criticism of Harry Kane.
Absolutely.
No criticism of Harry Kane.
I think they handled it,
they did.
They handled it really well.
Yeah.
They did as much as I think they were allowed to deal with. They probably weren't allowed to go off the field. It wasn't a decision that was just in...
I mean, in the end, we're applauding the England team.
Yeah, sure.
Right, great result, and you handled yourself perfectly. That's brilliant. But I think there is a point there in that should the white players have maybe stood up a little bit more? Should they have walked off? If they had walked off, what kind of statement would that have made? What kind of precedent would that have set? So it's an interesting one. Bilal follows up. He says, the problem is the FA. A few years ago, we had an incident at FCP where we heard what the opposition manager said and we had witnesses, yet when it came to the hearing, the accused got away with it. So what else can we do? Excellent point. I've had this frustration. I was involved in that case, that specific case, and obviously, it was found not guilty. He was found not guilty. There was insufficient evidence when you've got 4 or 5 witnesses all claiming to have heard the same thing, which implied the same thing, and nothing's done. So it's very unfortunate.
Well, I think we should call it out for what actually it is. I think the league structure, the FA structure that we have, are not enough's being done. They don't understand the system. They are recruiting more ethnic minority.
I think they're too far away from it, aren't they? In their committees and in their
Yeah.
forums, they're too far away from the actual grassroots. And I appreciate people from Northampton, people from the PDFL, Junior Alliance, and so on. They do come to games, but when you're sat in a boardroom trying to make decisions, it's difficult unless you know what kind of thing it is. I mean, I'll give you an example quickly. Just yesterday, one of my players fouled an opposition player, and I took him off because he shouldn't have fouled him. He was a frustrated one. He kind of pushed him to the ground, and I took him off because that's my way of dealing with an 8-year-old. You're talking about an 8-year-old, but the opposition parents, they lost it. They were screaming obscenities onto the pitch, directed at my 8-year-old. He's an 8-year-old boy who plays for my team, and I'm like, as an adult, unless you consider these people to be human. Don't consider these people to be human, you would never do that. If it was a white team and a white team, I'd be very surprised if one of those white parents said the same things to a white player who's kicked their son or whatever it is. It just doesn't happen. We've talked a lot about this. Let's move on because we've got a very packed show. I just wanted to touch on, and I think it's right to do so, the very sad news about Patrick Day, the Muslim boxer who died last week. Very, very sad news. And it brings to the forefront, things like boxing and MMA and these kinds of sports where you genuinely are putting your life on the line every time you get into the ring.
Yeah.
So the story behind that was he went into a coma, didn't he, after a fight, and he was in a coma for 4 days, and in the end, he didn't quite make it through. Really, really sad news. Did you see the fight at all?
I didn't see the fight. I saw a lot of the media coverage afterwards, and it's a tough sport, isn't it? It's a tough situation. I mean, the boxer he went into box didn't expect this to happen. I think he's very, very distraught as well. How do we make the sport safer? Is there anything we can learn from this?
It's difficult. I mean, the whole safe element, I think it's difficult because you start making the sport safer, you start changing the sport. The sport is the sport. It is brutal. Everybody knows that. But at the same time, I think just an appreciation of the risks that these fights face. You're taking punches from world-class athletes to the head, and it's a little bit like the cricket. When the ball struck the batsman on the head, the Australian batsman who then died from internal. Sport is one of those things where you're talking about world-class athletes, doing their best to gain a competitive advantage, and then obviously your body's on the line, isn't it, in a number of sports. So thoughts and prayers, obviously.
Of course.
Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. So hopefully, Allah blesses him with Jannah. I mean, what have we got? We've got so Rugby World Cup in Japan. Wales.
Wow.
Today. So Wales were nowhere near it. They were behind against France.
Yeah, I expected Wales to beat France.
So it was a really good performance for France, to be fair.
And it was, but the French went in there with this attitude of gung ho attitude that they've got to do something different to actually beat, because the Welsh are sort of overwhelming favourites.
Yeah.
And to a degree, they actually shocked Wales. Okay.
Absolutely.
And up until the last minute, the game, it went down to the wire, and what a famous victory for Wales. And my bet is still with the All Blacks. I still think they're going to win it, but
England looking good.
England,
Wales getting over the
England, fantastic. This was a very, very tough game against Australia. Australia, one of the pre-match favourites. England up there. Both the coaches were Australian coaches. Both the coaches had played with played in the same team.
Sure.
So this was this was competition amongst the coaches against the teams, and England, to be fair, absolutely terrorized them, and to score 40 points plus, and to win quite convincingly, it just shows you. I think England are actually ready for the semi-finals now.
Excellent. So just before we talk a little bit more about that, I just wanted to call up a comment from Arslan Ali. Arslan Ali's listening to the show. Thank you for listening, Arslan. He said, racism will always exist in football. I was 11 years old when I was racially abused on a football pitch. 20 years later, and it's still happening. He's absolutely right. I mean, it's and this is he's talking about he was racially abused as an 11-year-old. We had an incident 2 weeks ago with 8-year-olds who were getting racially abused. So it's It's a really.
I think to a degree, do the victims are ourselves, but are we to blame as well? Are we to blame that we don't do enough to bring out this sort of stuff? And I think with, as a grassroots club and as an individual, with everybody's tried to sort this out. I think the government now needs to get involved. The FA needs to do more.
Sure.
And if it means spending a lot of that money they have, in grassroots, bringing in maybe technology which will stop this from happening. The referees being more vigilant for stuff like this. That's what we require.
More needs to be done. We'll talk more about the football in a few short minutes, guys. We're just going to a break, so join us again soon.
Stay tuned to Salaam Radio after this short ad break. Feel like some great tasting chicken tonight? Great meal deals, wraps, burgers and sides. We've got it all at Chicken Palace. Call and collect at 302 Lincoln Road on 01733 702 447 or 8 Park Road on 01733 343750. Chicken Palace, open 11 a.m. till late.
Here at Children of Adam, we believe water wells and hand pumps are a significant step to empowering people to live their best life. A hand pump donation is an excellent form of sadaqah jariyah for loved ones, including those who have passed away. Saad ibn Ubadah reported, he said, "O Messenger of Allah, the mother of Saad has died, so what is the best charity I may give on her behalf?" The Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Water." Saad dug a well and said, "This is for the mother of Saad." A water pump is £150. Please donate by visiting childrenofadam.net or call us on 0300 321 0032.
Had a car accident or an accident at work? Accident specialists are experts in no-win, no-fee accident claims. Leave the hassle to us. Our multilingual settlement experts will manage the entire claims process on your behalf, with nothing to pay up front. We provide services such as credit hire, taxi vehicles, recovery, storage and much more. For full details on our range of services and a free consultation, call us on 01733 555 774 or visit our office at 249 Lincoln Road opposite the NatWest Bank. Accident specialists. Start your successful claim today.
दोस्ता की परेशान है
जरा करे ना सारा सौदा मुक्या वा मुल्का विच पैसे भेजने
हूं नहीं अमार फूड वाले की फोन खड़का ते फ्री लोकल डिलीवरी कार मंगवा
आलाता उथे कै स्पेशल आ
उना की लबाई हाइजीन च ग्रेड 5 चीजें चंगियां मियारी ते सस्तियां ते नाले ऑफर ही ऑफर
और क्या
ताजा गोश्त ताजी सब्जियां ते फ्रूट आटा चावल दालां मसाले ते जूस सारे बिल जमा करने गैस ते इलेक्ट्रिक ने टॉप अप भी करने पाकिस्तान पैसे बिल्कुल फ्री भेजने मतलब के एक चिड़ी ने दूध छड़ी ते हर शय लबनी
उठ जने ने आप उतरा
Amar Food Store and Halal Meat 613B Lincoln Road Peterborough telephone 01733 687374
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر كلا سوف تعلمون ثم كلا سوف تعلمون كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين لترون الجحيم ثم لترونها عين اليقين ثم لتسألن يومئذ عن النعيم. The mutual rivalry for the piling up the good things of this world diverts you from the more serious things until you visit the graves. But no, you shall soon come to know the reality. Again, you shall soon come to know the reality. No, were you to understand with certainty of mind, you would beware. Indeed, you shall certainly see hellfire. Again, you shall see it with certainty of sight. On that day, you shall be questioned about the joy ye indulged in.
Broadcasting 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. This is Salaam Radio.
Welcome back to Salaam Sports. It's Michelle jumping into the hot seat in place of Imtiaz for a few minutes while he takes a phone call outside. So stay tuned, he will be back. But in the meantime, Arif, you know what the topic's going to be now, don't you?
I think we should start off with the rest of the Premiership scores, Michelle. We should definitely start with Tottenham and find out what's happened with Tottenham. What is happening? Do you think there's a hangover with Tottenham when it comes to the Champions League final? And the fact that they came so close to winning it, and they've actually now struggling this season. Where do you think it's going wrong? I mean, it's early days.
Yeah.
Top four is actually currently at the moment is a big issue for them. At home to Watford, you'd have expected Watford, bottom of the table, them to annihilate. Considering majority of their players are still at the club.
I mean, I'm just sort of glad it was a draw.
Yeah.
To be fair,
VAR got in. I think, in all fairness, Watford should have won that game. Watford had a penalty appeal which wasn't given. I mean, that was quite strange, that decision. I think I read upon something recently where Klopp's been in charge of Liverpool for just about 4 years now. In 4 years, he's changed that team. He's actually got in, a complete different team. The only player who's still playing at the club, I think there's 3 players, but Henderson is one of them who's still there at the club. Everybody else, from the goalkeeper to the strikers, are all different footballers. Tottenham have still got the core of their footballers from 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Do you think Levy should have bought more players? Pochettino should have had a checkbook, blank checkbook. I know the league. They've spent a huge amounts on their stadium as well. So a lot of the investment has gone there. But are they happy with from what I'm hearing with a lot of other commentators is that they're quite happy to stay in that route of top 5, top 6, and try to get in through that way, and try to they're not interested in winning the Premiership. They're not interested in winning any of the cups. They're interested because of the amount they've spent on the stadium to stay in the top 4.
Yeah.
What would your opinion be on that?
I mean,
Michelle?
that's a safe place to be, I suppose, isn't it?
It is, because the money comes in, doesn't it? If you're in the top 4, you're in the European competitions, the money's going to keep coming in. And it's, as United have seen, they've been out of the Champions League this season, and, it's affected them financially as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, we were doing so well. I'm like reminiscing on the old days already. I know it's early days.
Yeah,
but
there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and I think moving forward, they should have spent huge amounts of money to try to bring in the right players. Now, Pochettino for me is a fantastic manager.
Amazing.
And whoever. It seems like the relationship is sort of breaking down. This is what you're hearing. He's unhappy with some of the buys they've had. He's unhappy with the fact that they're not prepared to spend any money. And you've got other clubs sniffing around him now because teams like Madrid are after him, Manchester United after him, and I can't remember, there was another top 4, top 5 club in England that were interested in trying to get him as well. I think Everton were one club that was trying to get him as well. So I think whoever comes in to Tottenham, if they get rid of him for any particular reason, it's going to be a downward step for Tottenham, because I think they need to give him the money so he can build a team around that's going to challenge for the league, that's going to challenge for the European Championships. They're not doing that at the moment.
I mean, something just to me seems like it's just broken down. Like the oomph has gone.
Yeah, I think
it's
that.
Very technical term, it's
and I go back to my early comments. I think losing the European Cup was a big blow for Tottenham, whereas Liverpool since then, they've not played brilliant football. They've not brought in, huge stars, but they've kept that momentum going.
Yeah.
Whereas Tottenham, they've now struggled. They haven't brought in the right replacements in for the players they've let go as well. And I think within this league, you've got to have a good squad of 22 players, and you've got to give your players competition, and they just haven't done that. So I think that's gonna that's made a huge difference to them. But in saying that, I think that will they finish in the top 5, 6 on current form? Probably yes, but only in the top 6.
Just scrape
but
him in there.
they need to start producing. They've got a world class striker in Kane still there. And they've got Song, who's absolutely awesome. Question is, why didn't they bring Eriksen on? Why wasn't Eriksen playing?
Eriksen's my favourite player.
Yeah.
He's amazing. He's another level. That would have made a difference.
Yeah, and there was a game I think a few weeks ago when he came on. They were losing 1-0. He made the difference. They were last 20 minutes. They ended up winning the game 3-1. And that sort of class footballers, you've got to have in your team week in, week out. You've got to give them the freedom,
isn't it?
It's
decisions to be made, which you would think that would be coming from someone who knows his stuff.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's all right for us to sit here and say that's
Absolutely.
what we would have done.
But so the decision was with Pochettino. What I can't understand what happened and why he didn't play. But there's always next week to look forward to. But going on to I think the crunch game today. I
knew you were stalling to this. How long did it take us to get onto this topic?
Yeah. Well, I think there's quite a few people listening who want to find out about this next game for 2 reasons. One, can Liverpool keep that record up, and can they do it against their old enemy, Manchester United? And United, are they going to end up going 18 points behind Liverpool, or are they going to be able to produce the goods and win the game and start performing from now on?
I mean, right on cue. This timing couldn't have been any better, could it?
So,
I'm going to hand over to Mr. Imtiaz because I know that you've got a good discussion going to go on here. So, inshallah.
Thank you. So Imtiaz, I was talking. I don't know if you heard.
Thank you so much to Michelle. I do apologise to the listeners. I had to take a call, but it's now concluded. Thank you so much, Michelle. Sorry, what was the discussion that I missed?
The discussion was, we came on to the Manchester United Liverpool game.
Manchester United Liverpool.
Okay.
Yes.
And obviously, we've got to be as neutral as possible. It's a little bit
as radio presenters.
As radio presenters,
Look,
and it's extremely difficult at the moment.
Let me tell you something. It's not a foregone conclusion that Liverpool are going to win today.
Absolutely.
Right? I've said this before, and I've said this on multiple groups that I'm on. And I said, look, this is the fixture where you get these new heroes, these cult heroes that come out. McTominay might score a goal and become like a Manchester United legend, right? You've got David De Gea out. But do you remember when Alisson went out and Adrian came in and all of a sudden he makes those great saves and it's like, wow, these really... So I would not be surprised if somebody just takes that little step up and becomes a hero, and it can go either way. It's United Liverpool, form goes out the window.
Yeah, and absolutely, form goes out the window. When Liverpool were struggling, we're talking about a few years ago, they sometimes used to get the number over United.
Yes.
3-1, 4-1, whatever exactly. It was.
You could be 7th in the league against Man United, who've won like 3 league titles in a row, and you'd play them and you think, you know what, we fancy our chances.
Okay. The question is, where do you think this game for United is? They've got an opportunity to be 18 points down from Liverpool if they lose, and Liverpool to carry on their record and continue winning as they want. But where do United fit into all this? So I put a question out to some of my friends the other day, and I said one of the questions was, is this possibly the worst United team in the Premiership? And a lot of them, as fickle Manchester United fans, as glory hunters they are, they've said that, yes, this is the worst United team. But generally, if you look at the team, they've got some real...
David De Gea's playing.
David De Gea, is he playing?
He's playing, yeah. David De Gea's playing. They've got Lindelof, Maguire, who are very strong.
Absolutely.
Wan-Bissaka is probably the signing of this... Well, they're one of the signings is sensational. He's been... And Ashley Young, who gets no endless amount of stick from United fans, but he does a job. That's
He
the
does a
thing.
job,
He does
yeah.
a job.
Yeah.
And then you got, okay, so it's their midfield where they look particularly weak, but they only look particularly weak because these players haven't had much of a chance. McTominay, he can do a job. You got Twanzebe and you've got Fred.
Yeah.
Right now, Fred has been mocked.
He has been mocked, yeah.
But he's
Yeah, on your day, anything's possible. What about their front three? Is Martial playing?
So Martial, I think Martial's on the bench, as is Greenwood, as is Mata, and they've gone with Daniel James, who's got bags of energy.
Absolutely.
Marcus Rashford, who's got bags of energy, and Andres Pereira, who's got a little bit of, he's got a clever pass in him here and there. So it's going to be very, very interesting. It looks like we've got a caller on the line. Let's see. Are we ready to take this call, Michelle? Or should we just wait? Yeah, I think we've been given. Let's give it a go. Let's see what happens. Hello, caller on the line. You're live on Salaam Sports. Who am I speaking to?
Image, it's Bidan.
Bidan, hey, how are you doing?
I'm good.
I'm so glad
My
you.
voice keeps on repeating down the line. It's making it difficult to talk. I don't know if you can rectify that.
Oh, can you hear me repeating down the line?
No, I can hear me.
Oh, is that because you haven't got the radio on in the background, have you?
No, I don't know.
Oh, I don't know, Michelle. Is there anything we could do with
I'll try and soldier on.
Yeah, try and soldier on, mate. See what you can do.
Can you raise the level of your voice as well? I cannot hear you very well.
How about now?
It's a bit better, yeah.
A little bit better. Okay, I'll try and speak perfectly into the microphone. Manchester United versus Liverpool. Form book goes out of the window, doesn't it?
Well, Imtiaz, there is a big imtihan waiting for United today, I think.
Do you know what? This is what Liverpool fans used to say 10 years ago or 5 years ago. Exactly. For us, what you're going through right now is what we've been going through for
But it
for
was
a number of years.
exciting.
It was exciting. Yeah, and when we did finally manage to beat you guys, I could remember somebody turning around and saying to me, I'd rather lose to Liverpool every season and win the league than
beat Liverpool
and lose the league. So what's your take on that, Bidsy?
My take is that, look, I'd rather win the league and lose to Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? But obviously we're not in a position to win the league. And I'm sure that Liverpool need the points to win the league because they're being chased down by Manchester City. Obviously there's the bragging rights issue, but they need the points because in the Premier League, a draw or a defeat can be, fatal almost, because it's like you saw at the end of last season after you lost to City. I think both of you won every game after that, or maybe you dropped points at Old Trafford and Everton. But then, I think that's how tight it is. You can see both you and City winning every game until the end of the season. So I think that yes, the bragging rights are important, but I think you need to win today for your own title challenge.
So we don't have Salah playing today. So we're going with Mane, Firmino and Origi. So a little bit weaker, but then Manchester United, their front three are Rashford, Pereira and James. So James,
with Martial on the bench.
With Martial on the bench, and this is the thing, like if Martial's fit, should he not be starting? I mean, he's a big player, right? He's and he's done it before. I don't know.
It might be a bit too early just to be starting him.
Fair enough. And I think, the biggest thing for me is, and I might, regret what I say now, but Fred, Twanzebe and McTominay, that's weak, isn't it? That is weak.
I mean, look, Twanzebe had a decent season with Villa last season. Obviously, he was in the Championship, but then again, Tammy Abraham was playing in the Championship last year, and he's adjusted to life well in the Premier League. So he might be able to hold his own against Origi, but obviously there's just that experience, isn't there?
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah,
I think that if Origi scored goals against Barcelona, scored in the Champions League final, and Twanzebe's got to be on his toes, but he could have a good game. Okay.
In terms of, it's probably a little bit early to go straight into predictions, but let's do it. I mean, do you what are the chances that a draw for United would be an upset, wouldn't it?
wouldn't view it like that, to be honest with you. I mean, like, look, the record that Liverpool have got at Old Trafford is poor.
Yes.
I think you've won 1 in 5 years, and that's in the years that Fergie's not been around.
Yeah.
And I think you've won 2 in 10 years. So
it's not great, then, is it?
I think that you do get nervous. Your fans get nervous at Old Trafford because they don't make a peep until after the game or before the game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely nervous. It says, I mean, head-to-head in the Premier League, there's been 54 encounters. So that means 27 at Old Trafford. And of the 27, we've won 5. And that really is, I mean, that's 1 in 5 win, less than 1 in 5 wins at Old Trafford. And Liverpool, Liverpool have never been, even when Man United were dominating, Liverpool were never a weak team. They were always a top 4, top 6 team. I think the worst they finished was 8th, wasn't it, in that whole period. So to only win 5 times at Old Trafford, you're absolutely right. It is not a place that we have a lot of joy in.
Yeah. I think that...
But to be honest with you, sorry, I was just saying that time you came to Old Trafford when Rodgers was in charge of you and Moyes was in charge of us, I knew that we would get pasted that day. Do you think that the gap is bigger today than it was at the game 5 years ago?
That's a good question. Arif, what do you think? Oh, are you talking about the 4-1, the Torres?
No, it was 3-0.
Oh, I remember.
Oh, the Suarez late goal, yeah.
3 penalties.
Yeah. I think it's good, very good question. I think I'm gonna sit on the fence on this one. I don't really know. I think
it's bigger.
Do you think it's bigger? I think,
yeah,
but that's the media bringing it out.
No. I mean, Bidan's talking about a team that's currently sitting 12th, or 12th before yesterday's results. I've not checked the table since, but 12th versus a team that's won 17 straight matches, and we were not a team that were winning 17 straight matches back then. And United have never been 12th. Not like 10, 15 games into a season.
Absolutely.
This is the worst start they've had in 30 years. So I completely agree. I think there's definitely a bigger gap than there was then. But there was a pretty large gap last season. And it's one of those, and I said this on the group, you might remember my text on the group about this, Bidsy, when I said, look, Manchester United Liverpool, it's one of those games where the unsung hero comes out, also just this relatively unknown player becomes like a
form
cult
goes
hero.
out the window, doesn't it?
Form goes out the window. You've got you'll have David De Gea have a blinder, coming back from injury. You'll have McTominay dominating the midfield, running left, right, and centre. He'll be featured on Match of the Day 2 tonight, as being the difference and the person that stopped us from getting the 3 points. It'll probably end up being a draw. Might be even 1-1.
Don't forget, last year at Old Trafford, we were on a good run when we played you.
Yes, that's
Anfield,
true.
We were playing terribly, and we got pasted in terms of the shots that we conceded in possession. I do think that you guys were lucky to win that game just because of the nature of the 2 goals.
Well, deflected goals, wasn't it? Deflected goals, yeah.
But you deserved the win.
Yeah, and what about 2 years ago when you beat us 2-1
at Old Trafford?
At Old Trafford, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So that was before Van Dijk had the season of his life, and we had Lukaku, and Lukaku bullied Van Dijk, and I think Lovren was the other centre half.
And Trent was still relatively young. Trent got caught out as well, didn't he?
Was a bit inexperienced and got turned by Rashford. So
I think
a lot of things that we had that day that we don't have today.
Do you think today's performance, United, are they gonna try to sit back? Are they gonna go and attack? Because look, you'd expect them playing at home, the crowd to be behind them. You'd want to attack Liverpool, wouldn't you? Or would you want to sit back and?
I think attacking Liverpool plays into their hands because they have got a pacey front three. I know that Salah's not playing, but they would look to hit us if we overcommitted ourselves forward a bit too much. So I would expect us to sit back and try and hit on the break.
Yeah. No, I mean, if the game gets into 70 minutes and it's 0-0, United are going to be pretty happy, and Liverpool are going to be getting very, very nervous. And when you get nervous,
at that point, yeah, but it's 90 minutes at the end of the day, and we need to just make sure that you don't know. Like Roy Keane was just saying, football's a funny old game, and if we can stay hanging there, get a bit of luck, you never know what could happen.
And I can't wait for Roy Keane's analysis after the game, should it be what most people expect, and that is like a comfortable Liverpool win, because he's absolutely going to tear into.
I think the midfielder United is weak, so getting the attacking players, the strikers, getting the ball to them might be a little bit of a problem. But like Imtiaz said, this game is anybody's game. Defensively, the keeper, you're as good as any other team in the league. Would you agree
We've
with
got
that?
the best defence in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really has. Yeah, you really have. But you restrict the number of chances you've got. I think you offer the opposition the fewest chances in the Premier League this season so
Well, it's
far.
3 at the back today, which is, look, you don't want to be using this game to be implementing a new system. So that's going to be interesting to see how that.
Is that right? I thought you've got Lindelof and Maguire as the centre backs and Wan-Bissaka and Young as full backs.
Twanzabe's playing as well.
So is he what? Is he like a fifth centre back?
I don't know, man.
I thought he was going to be like a. I thought he was going to be. Go on. Yeah, I thought he was going to be playing like 5-3-2. I thought it was a 4-3-3 with Twanzebe as the holding midfielder.
Is it? Well, I'm just going off what Shakika told me.
Shakika could be right. He certainly knows more about football than I do. I learned everything I know about football from him, so fair play to Shakika. It's going to be an interesting one. It's definitely nervous. It's a little bit nervy for Arif and I. We're sat here. We don't have our partner in crime, Sadat, big Man United fan. I think he's just getting himself in the zone for the game, isn't he? He's getting his head in the right place.
He is, and I think we're going to have to call it out. What's your opinion, Imtiaz? I think I'm gonna put
my prediction.
Yeah, I'm gonna put my neck on the line and
go on.
Go for a Liverpool 2-0 victory.
2-0. Well, I'm gonna go 1-1.
Yeah.
Bidan?
I'm going 3-0 Rashford hat-trick.
Wow. I love it. I love it when you put it all out there. It's brilliant. This is good. And we've got that on radio, and that's going to be circulating worldwide. So so if you are right, you did say it. I don't even remember this. There was a time back at me and Bidan were at university together. And Bidan, do you remember when I don't know who played Galatasaray away, and we were doing predicted scores, and I said, I think they'll win 5-0. Was it Chelsea beat Galatasaray away 5-0? Anyway, and I said they were going to win 5-0. I just said something way out there. It's 5-0. The thing is, if they don't, nobody remembers. But seeing as they did, everyone was like, oh my God, Image called it. You said 5-0. I was like, yeah, I know this kind of stuff. So yeah, if it is a 3-0 Man United win, we'll definitely be recalling that. But see, while you're on the line, look, we wanted to talk about something else as well. Yesterday, VAR had an absolute nightmare, didn't it?
Man. I just don't understand what VAR is there for. I mean, it just seems like it's there to correct marginal offsides, but nobody has used that facility, the pitch side facility, to review.
Yes, so no referee's ever been.
The other day, do we have that in England yet? And that. So first of all, there's the whole thing at Tottenham with the Deulofeu penalty, which was a stonewall penalty. That is a clear and obvious error.
It was. I agree.
But it got cleared by VNR.
How did it get cleared?
Ali scores, and then they send the wrong information to the big screen.
Yeah. So the referee gets something in his earpiece saying it's a goal, and the big screen says no goal. And they're going back to the halfway line. Everyone's confused. The crowd is like, you could cause a riot.
I know. And what was the other game? Something happened. Oh, Burnley.
Oh, yes. So the free
is that
kick.
Clear and obvious there?
Yeah. So who was that? The defender, was it?
Johnny Evra.
Johnny Evra. Yeah, that's the one. Johnny Evra.
I don't remember seeing that.
Oh, okay. So Chris Woods, wasn't it? Went through with the keeper. The keeper made a save. The ball bounced off Chris Woods' chest or whatever.
Chris Wood.
Chris Wood even.
Woods is a former England goalkeeper.
Yeah, Chris Wood. And it was bouncing into the back of the net, and Evans is running towards the ball, and he was going to scoop it away, but as he's running towards the ball, his ankle gets clipped by Chris Wood, who and it gets reviewed on VAR. To be fair, I think that the referee missed it. It was a foul, and he could have potentially cleared it. I agreed with that one. I thought that was one where VAR was used correctly. Do you agree?
Yeah, it's that whole clear and obvious. Is it like, oh my God, how did you not manage to see that minute clip? It's not a case of that. I just want consistency.
Right,
but
yeah.
I am in favour of VAR refereeing the games. Overruling referees, I don't mind, because referees cannot possibly be across everything that's going on in that game. So what they should do is say, look, you've made a mistake here. Go and review it on that screen just so it looks like you're in charge. but we're in charge.
Yeah, no, I would not have any issue with that whatsoever. I think the worrying thing for me is not even match of the day commentators know how VAR is supposed to be used, and they were openly questioning it last night, weren't they? They were saying, is it just like you said? Is it just to verify whether or not something was offside? Is it, is it?
It's the whole clear and obvious error thing.
Yeah. And
what I would do is, like I said, if there's a suspicion, look, put it straight. I would just use the phrase talking point.
Right.
If allowing this goal is going to create a big talking point, then look at it again.
Right.
Advise the referee that there could be some kind of impropriety there, and then give him a chance to change his mind.
Yeah. Bidzi, thank you so much for your call. We've only got 10 seconds
problem.
to show, so you can see us out. Guys, we want to thank you all for joining us today, for listening to us, and for interacting with the show. And hope your team does well this afternoon. We will see you all next week. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you.
Stay tuned to Salaam Radio after this short ad break.
There's a million choices available for dining out in Leeds.
But if you want something special, there's only one name to remember.